See, and these are the people who are at the forefront. And it's what people see that people react and relate to.
Thank you very much. So, Mr. Hamza, Mr. Chai.
Okay, so I have, I suppose, one bit of contextualization to make about JAPA and the way we say it. First off, humans in every arena of life are, they are liable to go from one place to another. If you go to Australia now, you'll hear doctors with British accents. If you go to Canary Wharf now, you'll hear consultants with American accents. Go to London Business School, where Bennett is going. It is full of Americans who have come here willingly. So let's just put, let's understand, for every society, for every country, there will be a set percentage of the society who, for reasons that might be hard to explain, will always leave and go elsewhere. Right? What we're trying to answer is, what is unique about the Nigerian situation that makes people leave us in greater than that natural average, right? And I think you expanded on that very quickly. Now, in terms of hopelessness, this is a point I vehemently disagree on. And let us do a quick thought experiment. Who is the richest black man on earth?
Dangote.
Me. You were 2 years. Aliko Dangote, right? Where did he make his money?
Nigeria.
Is he selling to Nigerians?
Yes.
So he's worth $20 billion selling to Nigerians in Nigeria. How is that possible? Genuinely, think about it. Because I think the problem we have is, as Bennett said, if you do not reach, if you're not thinking big enough, if you're not thinking big scale enough, then you will think small solutions, small problems. If you want to make £100,000, don't stay in Nigeria. My friend, if you want to be a billionaire and you are black and Nigerian, you better go back. That, frankly, is why I'm going back in September. Truly, and I think it's important to understand, if your goal in life is to develop, is to basically jump one hurdle at a time, right? If that's all you want to do, then the solutions that will come to you are easy and relatively obvious. If you're a highly skilled doctor and you think, okay, I can perform surgeries very well, and in Australia, instead of, you can make 100,000, 100 times your income, for example. That's fine. But you can only perform so many surgeries in a day, right? If you put your business hat on and you say, okay, I think I would like to build a hospital and do this, and you will realize that with those skills you have, and the connections you have and the leverage you have, the best place for you to maybe get a loan, build a hospital, get the Minister of Health to come and endorse you, will still be in Nigeria. And once you multiply the number of surgeries you can do as one surgeon versus 100 surgeons in your hospital, you will find actually you're making more money there. Another thing is, all of us who've come here, right, who are getting paid school fees, our parents who paid for us to come here and the expensive flight tickets, they all made their money in Nigeria. I think honestly, what we are classifying as hopelessness is what I would say a lack of ambition. Exactly. You are reaching too low. And I say with all due respect, but it is contextualization.
Sorry, I didn't mean that. Not at all.
Yeah.
I am personally very optimistic.
Of course.
I know. The way I was trying to make them that I was trying to further expatiate on the point that Mr. Abbas made about I asked, are there things, are there policy measures that the government can take to stem the tide of harmful youth migration? So the agreement was that is hopeless.
Which I also disagree with. Because again, what is it that will make people want to go? In economics, we believe in something called homo economicus, which means human beings are rational actors that respond to incentives. And if Nigeria is made a more fertile business ground, a more fertile ground for people to go there and be successful, people will come back naturally. So in essence, if we are able to get good governance, which by the way is happening slowly, but people don't see it. I'll give you a simple example, and I think you guys will probably agree with this. We have heard, think about government contracts, which is, I guess, the number one way people steal in Nigeria, right? it is the most happening thing. If I don't steal a government contract, I don't even know if I steal it. In the 80s, if the 80s you guys have sung so, well about.
Yes.
A man could steal a 500 million naira contract and not even build the damn road. He will just walk out. With no accountability. I mean, truly, the level of sort of blatant contract abuse we used to see there is no longer possible. It is a lot more difficult.
Yeah.
Now you have to do things like, inflate the value of what you're selling, which happens even in the Western world. So there's a slow level of development happening, which I think, again, it is difficult, when you are sick and the doctor comes and tells you you'll be fine. But I'm in pain now, doc. You're telling me I'll be fine tomorrow, but I am in pain. But you have to just sort of believe. But in terms of, is there any magic pill I can offer you? The answer is perhaps they can set up investment vehicles, get some MBAs like Bennett, really smart people to come in and try to make it incredibly easy for Nigerians who have money abroad to go back and invest in a relatively simple way. Because there are people who have the will and maybe just think, it's too chaotic or whatever. Maybe that's the only thing. But
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Wait,
Yes, I would ask.
so are you saying those people investing from here would be the reason as to why Nigerians don't leave?
Well, no, it's not necessarily a direct link. But if people with money in the West, in the first world, Nigerians are willing to invest in Nigeria, then, as they say, follow the money. If money starts going in the other direction, not because people are sending money so your neighbor will buy a car or your cousin can get married or that kind of stuff, but because you're getting invested in the land, back, you're getting invested again. You have a house in the UK, 2 houses in the UK, why don't you go and open a shop in Nigeria? That, by definition, the legs will follow the money eventually, but it's not necessarily a direct correlation.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. So, Mr. Hamza, are you currently graduate students as UCL? And what are your plans post-graduation? Are you staying put in the UK to explore opportunities, or you will be going back to Nigeria?
Well, I have already explored opportunities, plenty. So I came to the UK when I was just turned, sorry.
There's a reason why I had a question, so I want to answer that first.
Yeah, so I've already been in the UK for, I came when I was 16, and since 2013 until date, I've been in the UK all of that time, apart from 2 years where I was in Nigeria, working in a business. But I've been here, essentially all of my adult life. But I've been very conscious of the opportunities that I had back home and that are available for me back home. Again, this is a personal calculus. Everybody has to evaluate what you have waiting for you. And if what you have waiting for you think is not as good as what you would like, then that's fair enough.
So you are going back home, right?
Certain was.
Can you just give a summary? Of course, you mentioned it in isolation, but I want to do a summary of these factors that make Nigeria genuinely attractive to you, to return to immediate higher studies.
Okay, so this is a good question. I suppose for me, firstly, it has to do with leverage. And when it comes to, again, our references, but again, the degree I'm studying is called Pharmaceutical Formulation and Entrepreneurship. So we're learning a lot about entrepreneurship, and we're learning it in a way that asks the question of what is the difference between somebody who's opening a corner shop and somebody who founds Google? They're all businesses, they all have an incorporation. What is the difference in the mindset of the persons that are in those companies? And you will realize it is night and day. One is trying to go to space, the other is trying to go to your neighbor's house. Truly they are. Because you more or less have to build a rocket ship to build a Google. To go to your neighbor's house, you just buy a pair of shoes and you can go there. That is sort of a nice analogy. And leverage is the tools and resources you can marshal which multiply your personal effect. Yeah? In Nigeria, if you have any family connections, any opportunities in the system, I say opportunities, any sort of ease of doing business, because there's somebody whose palm you can grease to get your job done, that technically is a business opportunity in some senses. Your knowledge of the market, your understanding of how things work in the first world are things that you can translate back. So I think if you're somebody who has ambition, which I hope all of us do, and you feel like, look, I'm young, I can risk it, perhaps, then you can do an analysis of the skills you have, the opportunities there, and again, for me, it's a risk-free proposition. I can always come back here and work, like forever. Right? I don't even have a passport, by the way. Even though I've been here for 11 years, the 2 years I could have stayed to get a passport, I didn't. I went back home and worked because the passport for me was never really that much of a priority. Maybe in 15 years I will get it, but Yeah, to summarize your point, it comes down to analyze the opportunities you have and realize that to make it big, you must focus on leverage. And leverage is probably for most Nigerians, you have more leverage in Nigeria, basically.
Okay, so it's about your own personal fortunes now. It's not, there's nothing systemically impressive about Nigeria for that. It's about your own ability to navigate the system with your network. Am I right? I just want to get this clear.
That is one point, but there is a reason why people went to the Yukon and California when they heard there was gold. Yeah? It is because, you have to believe you can extract the gold. And one person might go there, another might not. And of course, you might fail at your extraction pursuit, but I suppose, again, it comes down to the way you see it and how you frame opportunities.
Thank you very much. So now, the next question goes to
Economic migrant, or you just came for studies in the UK?
Studies.
You came to study. You represent less than 1% of the JAPA population.
Yeah.
That's good.
Because I always like to put things into context.
Yeah.
Very good.
And you've talked brilliantly about opportunities that are bound in Nigeria. But your own personal economic situation, perhaps from your family, makes you see things differently in Nigeria. Because if you didn't come to study in the UK, you and I probably would never be sitting right next to each other. The majority, if they have access to what you have waiting for you, like you alluded to, trust me, there will be a very, very reduced number of the brain drain. So the context is the reality. The reality is that many don't, without food in front of them, many don't see those opportunities you are seeing in Nigeria. Many do not see it. That's just the fact of it. Perhaps when they come here, better themselves, empower themselves, then they start to see it. So it's one step after the other.
Yeah.
Sorry, I have a question.
There'll be question and answers afterwards.
No, I wanted to address the thing he said. Okay, maybe we can.
Feel free, please. It's important that this session is it's a thing that we all can relate with. And I'm happy that people are ready to
And I think
engage.
because there's two of us, we can make it interactive. Wait until what? Exactly, it's only two of us anyways.
Oh, thank you.
Please jump in.
Okay, thank you very much. Sorry. Thank you very much. I think I'm loud enough.
Yeah.
So, thank you very much. So, my question will come like A and B. A, do you have a business in Nigeria?
Yes.
You, one. Two, how is the human factor? Like, because I also have a business in Nigeria. I have like 3 running businesses in Nigeria now. So, I don't want to talk about myself since you are the speaker. So, what is the human factor like in Nigeria? Human being factor.
Well, of course, depending on the industry that you're in, you're working with people who might have a degree or certification, and you might find that to be false. I, for example, did personal interviews with a lot of people for a manufacturing plant that I managed. And what I found, to my dismay, was a lot of people who had high school diplomas, and had C's and D's in English, were not proficient in the language. So, somebody is telling me I got C in NECO, and you can barely speak it. So, there's no universe where that was supposed to be true. So you have that kind of element where, you more or less have to find a different way of assessing people. And, I suppose just general chaos. I can give you one small example, I suppose.
Yeah, I think so as to help us to bring context to it. What I mean by human factor is that not about certifications or people. You are abroad, you have a thriving business in Nigeria. How are they doing with finances? What are they doing with the money, with the things you have put in the facility? That's what I mean by the human factor. So do you think it's encouraging for businesses to take their business back home? Because you will still need to employ Nigerians, and you know how Nigerians are back home. So that's exactly what I'm addressing. So the opportunity is there. Yes, you can make money. We have the population, but what do you think about the labor force, the human force?
I mean, to at the heart of your question, there's a Russian saying, trust but verify. And even where there is trust, an absence of verification will erode the trust eventually. So the point is, you must invest heavily in creating systems that are difficult to fool. Why should you put a CCTV camera somewhere that somebody doesn't think that you need it? Your upfront cost will be high. But because it's a high verification environment, like the UK, by the way, this is why we don't just commit crimes anyhow. That's not that. Because it's a high verification environment, and then you'll make it more likely that people will behave well if you put them in a position of trust. And in my personal case, I have family members who are helping.
You have to move.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. The broader context to the points that Mr. is trying to raise is really talking about the general low trust environment that the media is known for. Yeah. And that is a really, really serious issue. So there are quite some
it's subjective, it's relative. There's nothing serious about it.
it is really, really serious.
It depends on how you put things out and the people you are relating with, how you
Well, it is
whoever.
when you say when you say
What kind of
when you say environment is a low trust environment, it is a valid claim that is based on facts and experience people have gathered over years about their character. And the fact that Nigeria today is a low trust environment is not able to get. I mean, the fact that people here are not even entrust to construction of property to their family members. People stay in the UK, they make money, they use their money to build houses, and for years and years and years, definitely, but yes, definitely. Relatively people have experience, but on average,
Yes.
it's really achieved, and we hope that the culture evolve morally from low trust to high trust.
Introduce our third speaker. Sorry, no,
He's a Nigerian.
He's a true Nigerian.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Laura Erin, and I just want to kind of, I just wanted to just pick off of that and then just go into my question. I think you were making a very great point. Like, there have to be systems in place to validate and to ensure that there's always. I have a business where half of my team are in Nigeria, and I have this app called Workfolio. They log in, they can't lie to me that they're not working because they log into Workfolio when it's time for work. And I know when they're like browsing on there, they're doing their tasks because Workfolio tells me everything. And they signed up to that. So that's like an example of what you were just talking about, validation and making sure that there are, CCTV where you cannot always be there. So obviously that's not going to work for if you're telling someone to buy a house or make sure they bought the cement. But there are other ways that you can put those kind of things in place for that. But yeah, so that was just my point on that. And my actual question was, bear with me, I wrote it down. What are your experiences with Nigerians who do return home like yourself? They're educated, they've spent years here, after graduating, gaining work experience abroad, only to find that the job offers they receive are significantly below their skills, global market value. I have friends who are, lawyers, but they're doing other things like photography or other things because they're trying to, get to the bag in Nigeria instead of doing their profession. Because they're receiving the offers they're receiving are significantly below their skills and global market value. How can we better align opportunities in Nigeria to attract and retain this kind of talent? Both because I have someone that's worked for me, Bolade, who is an amazing lawyer and he's your nephew, so awesome. But also yourself. I'd like to hear from you as well.
There are some people, they can never get used to the diaspora. They've moved over here. They've studied, but then maybe just down then they get marriage comes and then children start to come, and then moving back gets harder. But they are not happy living there. I have a typical there's a friend of mine who's in the media space as well.
Is that fire?
Just open it and close it back again. Yeah, press the green button and just back it. No, just push it.
There we go.
Push it up. Close it again. Close the door. Yeah, that's fine. Somebody is trying to walk
She's
through
Nigerian.
that. Whatever you do, don't walk through that door.
Okay.
Or security will come and
Yes, so then how do we
he wanted to go back. And then this opportunity came, and somebody was setting up a 24-hour news channel in Nigeria. And this was meant to be global. And we spoke, and he says, these people have called me. I said, well, it's Nigeria. Don't leave your regular job yet, but then these guys were insistent, and they kept pushing, sent everything, they made all the necessary media noise, and then he took up the job. And company folded 3 months after.
Yeah.
Wow. True life story. Company folded 3 months after. And then now, because when you decide to relocate, it's just like when you were coming back here. You're going back again to learn new skills, new lingo, because once you leave Nigeria, after 6 months, your blood don't think. Everything that you think you know, there are new things that come in. So it takes, relocation in itself is just like moving out. So, but then he now decided, I'm not going back to England. And he sat in Nigeria, and then he had to take the lowly paid jobs. Become like a reporter, going to the courts, doing the street work. And so basically stuff he wouldn't even do when he got here. He got back to Nigeria, but he was determined he had to do it. And he went on, and from there now today, he now runs his own news channel, and that took like a 10-year journey to get back to that level. So, having said that, we all live in there are some people that just are not comfortable. They want to go back to Nigeria. Even in the midst of all that, all the stories you hear and everything, they believe Nigeria can work for them. And really, if you don't have that spirit, you can never return to Nigeria. You must believe, because there are people that live this country that go to remote parts of the world, very remote parts, and they find their peace and joy there. So it is possible. Oh, I'm 2 years. But you are not one of us now.
My question was more the people that are offering and wanting to the brain drain, bring people back.
Back to Nigeria.
If I am an employer and I want this person who's got this illustrious degree and experience and I want them back, but then my offering is 3 million a month. That's amazing because everyone's getting 100K salary.
So,
bro,
if I'm going to add to that right now,
that's been here,
so
how do you?
I talk about quality of life as well.
Yeah.
At times we get it. There are some people, anytime they hear the pound sign, they are converting in their head. It's a very Nigerian thing, How much is that thing? 10 pounds. You want to collect 20,000 naira from me?
Yeah, exactly.
So, if I put it into context, the person earning 1 million naira in Nigeria a month has a better quality of life than the person earning 3,000 in this country a month. Do you agree with me?
Yeah.
The person earning 1 million naira in Nigeria has a better quality of life, than the person earning 3,000. 3,000 pounds is equivalent to 6 million naira.
That's if they have all other things like dental.
Hold on. Let me start from that base level. And remember, never use yourself. Always look for the median. And I think that's part of the problem as well. We use ourselves to rate where. No, you must always, if you're going to go into governance, you must always start at how does this work for the average person? So when my parents relocated to Nigeria in the 70s, my father landed. First job, he got a car within the first 2 days. A house was waiting for him. That was standard for any returnee back then. Now that's practically almost non-existent. And now, so if I'm going to return to Nigeria, I may not necessarily need the same amount of money to attain what I want here, because I know for a lot less in Nigeria, my quality of life is much better. So as we are thinking income, let's be thinking quality of life. You have family around you. We can be a problem every now and then at times, but you have people around you. In Nigeria, I'm Oga boss. Once I land at the airport, trust me, you won't recognize me again. Nigeria, I will never get that here. Trust me. I don't know if you all know him. When he lands in Nigeria, from the airport, so quality of life is very, very. We must not all think money. Quality of life is important.
Thank you very much. But then, if we are including things